Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be my review on Beowulf's grammar, which we just finished at the end of 5th grade with my daughter. If you're new to my channel, hi, my name is Nicole. I'm a homeschooling mom with 2 kids at home. I have a daughter who's 10 and just finished 5th grade, and my son is 4. Okay, so this review is going to be all about how I felt about Beowulf grammar. If you're not familiar with Beowulf grammar, this is a grammar program for grades 2nd through 6th grade by a company named Guest Hollow. And how they have this laid out is this is technically a 33-week program of about 4 to 5 days a week of grammar split into 4 quarters. However, the last quarter is only 6 weeks versus 9 because it's 33 weeks. And when you get the PDF, it'll come in one large document with all 4 of the quarters, and it'll also have it broken up. So that makes it really easy. So this is what quarter 1 looks like. We have quarter 2. And quarter 3 is a lesson for you guys to remember to double space because I did not. Quarter 4. And then it also comes with a review program, which I'll talk about. It also comes with a teacher guide. You guys, I, for the life of me, cannot locate my teacher guides. I don't know if I accidentally throw them away. I went through all my boxes I had already packed up. Essentially what it is it's several pages made very small with notes on the side to give you some advice on how to approach that lesson or additional ideas that you can do. And it also has the answers on there. So you'll definitely want that for sure. And I did print out each quarter. I would print out a book and then I would print out the teacher guide pages that went with it. Okay, so what I love about this program is fun and it's hands-on. Now, I will say that in the beginning of the program, I felt like there were a lot more activities than there were towards the end, and it did progressively get harder. I would say halfway through the 3rd quarter, it definitely ramped up a little bit and was definitely more of a challenge for my daughter. Now, before I go into any more, I want to let you know where my daughter was as far as her grammar background, because I feel like that's really important when we're looking into a curriculum, because every child's knowledge of that subject is different. So my daughter went to public school through 3rd grade, and we did do other grammar before we started Beowulf grammar midway through her 4th grade year. So she did have a semi-extensive background on grammar before she started. So I will say that the beginning part of this for her was very review, and without the activities, I think she would have been a little bored. So that is something to keep in mind. But I honestly think that this was a great review for her, and I couldn't imagine doing any other grammar program at that age that was so fun and engaging. So I do feel like there was value. And like I said, it definitely amped up in the 3rd quarter, and it really became challenging for her towards the end. Okay, so first let me show you some of the activities that you would do. I don't have everything because, again, I don't know where I placed it all. You would do fun things like this is Beowulf's Diner, where you were making a menu, and this is where you were working on adjectives. And she loved this, you guys. This was really fun. And you have cut and paste activities where you have, this is on showing verbs, and then you have more cut and paste. You have things like bingo. They have these cutouts for you on all the different parts of speech, where this one's on adverbs, and on the back it'll give you some information on that. There's also some on verbs, and then it'll go through on the back the different type of verbs and different examples. She has those for all the parts of speech. Then you have, more activities like this. You've got activities like this. So a lot of this is cut and paste. You have a lot of more hands-on activities that could be something like this, where you're spinning the wheel and finding the different words. And then you'll have activities like this, where your daughter will decide that she doesn't want to cut it out and do the full activity because she's decided she's too old for that. So you have a wide variety of activities, and depending on the age and how much your children like to do activities, I do feel like there is something for everyone. Another really fun thing about this program is that they encourage you to send notes from Beowulf. And I'm talking a little quieter because I don't want my daughter to hear me. I would write Post-it notes to her in handwriting that didn't look like mine. And I would leave them for her all throughout. And she loved that so much, you guys, because at the beginning of this, you're going to be making a dog, and you're going to have him in a little box. And I'll post a picture because I don't have that anymore. But it is so fun. And you just stick the sticky notes in that box. And she loved it every time she got one from Beowulf. So definitely recommend doing that if you're doing it with your child. And they would just be things like, I heard you did so well yesterday in math, or great job on learning your grammar, keep doing the hard work, just stuff like that. Okay, so now back to the program. So there is so many wonderful things about this program. So many. It's fun, it's engaging. There are a few things though that I felt would have made it better. One of them really is having more of a review. So it does have a review, and this review breaks it up into every week. You have a Monday, a Wednesday, and then you'll have a Friday review. So technically, on top of the 4 to 5 days of grammar that you would be doing for the program, you would also have 3 days a week review. Now, review for week 2 would be things that you had done previously in week 2. So that was great. However, it wasn't like, for example, on week 18, you weren't going to be reviewing things that you had done in the beginning. So something that I realized at the very end was doing all the Mondays first, then doing all the Wednesdays, and then all the Fridays. So that way you're continually going back around and getting a review throughout. Because if you can do this program in a year, I commend you, because at 1.5 years, it felt rushed. It definitely felt rushed. If I do this again with my son, which I'm about 95% sure that I will do this with my son, I think I'll start him around 3rd grade-ish. I say that because he's going to be very old for his age, whereas my daughter was younger. So I think 3rd grade really is the perfect age to start this. And I would do it for all of 3rd and all of 4th. I would do that a couple times a week. And then I would do a day of review as well, using this review workbook and spreading it over those 2 years. I think that would be the perfect place for it, honestly. One thing that I want to let you guys know is that I didn't actually buy this program separately. I bought this program with the Guest Hollow Language Arts program. So I also didn't realize that the Beowulf grammar curriculum, which you can buy separately, doesn't come with a schedule like the language arts does. So that schedule was really helpful, and just checked it off as I went. And that was super helpful because you're looking at, I think, 395 pages, if I'm not correct, 345 pages total. And if you were to go through and figure out what pages on what day for how long, I feel like that might drive you a little mad. In addition, the language arts, it has a vocabulary and a spelling it recommends. It has lots of different writing things that it incorporates. But it also incorporates add-ons for grammar, a lot of picture books and videos to go along with all the grammar concepts as you're introducing them, extra activities. And I did do that with my daughter in the beginning. However, she felt like the books were a little babyish. By this end, we're midway through her 4th grade year. This is very review for her. However, if it's really your first real introduction to grammar, I think it would be amazing addition to have those add-ins that they have. So like I said, I did do that for about a month or so. I did really like that. So I will be using the language arts component for my son in regards to the additions and also being able to have the schedule. So another thing that I want to tell you is that the complexity, like I mentioned, did increase. It increased enough that I needed some help. So that's actually when I purchased this Usborne Junior Illustrated Grammar and Punctuation. This is for ages about 9 to 12, but I think you could use it for younger as well. This really helped me when you got into the more complicated concepts of grammar. Like here's conjunctions, coordinating and subordinating conjunctions. I wasn't terrible at this. I'm just going to be honest. Grammar is not my thing. And this helped me a lot as well as my daughter. So if you do struggle with more complex grammar concepts, I would definitely recommend getting something like this for you and your child to help you as you progress. This does start sentence diagramming in quarter 2, to let you know. Okay, so let me show you a little bit of the inside. So in the beginning, like I said, you start off really strong. This is the box that you are going to put together for Beowulf, and he is going to sit in this box and you're going to do activities with him. And this is a really fun part. You have a treasure hunt that you're doing right off the bat, and you cut out all these words and you're going to do some activities with the treasure chest and these words. So you have comics all throughout, and she has Beowulf and a few other characters that are children that are interacting with you throughout. And so you have Henry, Abigail, and Beowulf is their dog. And I believe that the creators had a dog named Beowulf, and that's why they named the program after him. And then this little baby's name is Grace. So these are characters that you're going to have throughout the grammar program in addition to Beowulf. So let me go through and just show you a couple more. There are a lot of flip throughs of the grammar program and the language arts program for you to look at. I just don't have all the stuff anymore, and I didn't really delve too deeply into the language arts, so I can't really speak on that. Okay, so this is a typical introductory page where they're going to teach you things. You may have 1, 2, 3 pages of reading, and then you'll have an activity, and you'll go on to another page, and then it'll intermix it with some activities, and then it'll intermix it with some writing projects. You'll have review that's interspersed throughout. For example, here is a review. You'll have a few pages of review every once in a while throughout, and then when you start on a new topic, you'll have several pages of like comics to introduce you to the topic. And, you know, again, they're all using the characters throughout in several different ways. And then you'll go on to some activities. So this is very colorful, very engaging, very fun. There is definitely worksheets in here as far as activities. And then here you go into sentence diagramming. For quarter 4, there wasn't as many activities by far. You did have some comics spread throughout to introduce you to topics, but the activities, there was some in the beginning, but after that, I just felt like there wasn't quite as much. But that doesn't mean that it's not fun and engaging. It just means that the work kind of changes, which technically I feel like if you were starting this like in 3rd grade and you finish quarter 1 and 2 where you have lots of activities, then as you move into 4th grade, maybe activities aren't quite their thing. Maybe it would work better for you. Okay, let's go into level 4. So level 4, like I said, definitely stepped it up. You have object complements, predicate complements. You have prepositional phrases. You have noun clauses. You go into quotation marks, which I really do like how they presented this. This was reviewed for my daughter, but they did a really great job at that. They do have some activities in here. You're going to go into dialogue, diagramming dependent clauses. You're going to go into infinitives, which was a little complex subject for my daughter to get. You're going to go into gerunds. I don't even think I'm pronouncing this correctly. So, like I said, the first 2 quarters definitely have more activities in them than the last 2. It does progressively get harder, which I think is what you want. I would definitely recommend not doing this in the order that it says, this review. I would definitely recommend going through all the Mondays, weeks 1 through 33, going back around, doing all the Wednesdays, going back around and doing all the Fridays, because I feel like that would give you a better review of all the concepts, especially if you're taking a couple years. All right, guys, I think that's it. I'm sorry if this was a little disjointed. This is a great program. I definitely recommend it. Like I said, I will most definitely probably be using this with my son unless something else comes out that's better in the meantime. But I can't imagine, because so much work went into this program and just the thoughtfulness of it. So I really do appreciate it, and I'm really glad that I found it. All right, that's it, guys. If you have any questions, please let me know. If not, I'll see you in my next video. Bye.